Looking at the birth order is really important, and understanding all of this really helps us navigate how we can respond to their needs, and also understanding that every child, we can't help it. They're constantly observing the situation from their own lens and adding more and more different colored glasses based on what they're seeing and what they're interpreting on I am, others are, the world is.
What can we do, especially when there are siblings and there are sibling rivalries, and we don't know because both are equally important to us, right? So we can't give too much attention or favor to one child and not to the other. So in such situations, how can we deal? How can we deal with balancing the conflict and at the same time not showing any kind of bias to either of them?
So we have each child, and as a parent, what a job that we have, being able to balance work life. So it comes again to the balance. And this is more Montessori, or this is more positive discipline, and both kind of an answer. So when we're raising three children, having guidelines on how we're going to function and making agreements with everyone involved. And again, it's age appropriate. So when we're talking about contributions, having the age appropriate for all three, and switching, right? Switching these jobs the contributions that they offer in our home. So one of the ways that we could do that is one parent is going to be cooking. One child helps with this cooking. The other child has a different job. Because every human being, we want to contribute. We want to be socially useful. We want to belong in a situation. And how does each person feel when they're contributing to a cause? And special situations, so laundry. Children that are younger are learning matching colors, making shapes. So including in that, but the older child who knows where it goes might be able to put those things in a different room. And when the challenges occur, understanding the behavior, where is it coming from? And taking the time to train and giving the skills to the children that are age appropriate. And sibling rivalries happen. And I remember with my children, one of the things this wise man had told us is, remember, they're going to create, you have the scale and you have two children or three children or more. If you choose one side, what's going to happen? And what is that other child going to do next? So fly united. So if there are more than one parent in a home, fly united. Make sure you know as adults the discipline style that you're going to both embrace. Because if one is firm, one is kind, what's going to happen? So the kind person is going to have all the children going to them and they're going to be overburdened. Oh, they always come to me. But what's the message they're getting? And then more kind one person is, what's the other person going to do? Become a little bit more firm. Now, what did the children learn? I love it. Manipulation. They're going to go back and forth. So modeling, having agreements, having guidelines, and family meetings. Are we meeting regularly? Are we looking at things that are going well in our home? Right? Let's be good finders when they're young. Let's find all the cool things everyone's doing in our home. And then when we have a meal, we're going to take turns in sharing what you notice someone else did. So instead of looking for problems in our home, now we're looking for things that are going well. So we're shifting the vision and inviting children to be more encouraging of one another. So chances are the sibling rivalry is going to turn into more appreciation. And of course, they fight because it's about positions. So Dr. Jane Nelson and Lynn Lott's book talks about birth order, right? So you have that first child, and they've been the one and only, and they get dethroned when the second child comes around. And they're the apple of our eyes. And what's going to happen from that older child, right? And then the younger one is like, look at me, and I am. And then you have the third child. Ooh, And then it depends on the age. They could be the youngest, or only if it's more than 5.5, 6 years of difference. So looking at the birth order is really important. And understanding all of this really helps us navigate how we can respond to their needs, and also understanding that every child, we can't help it. They're constantly observing the situation from their own lens and adding more and more different colored glasses based on what they're seeing and what they're interpreting on I am, others are, the world is. And they're going to show up.
Wow.
Parenting is so exciting, isn't it? Because if it was just every child just was obedient and did everything, and I think what sometimes I wanted, or we all want, is children to obey when we're exhausted. And that's the time they really show us something about ourselves. They teach us every day.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that with my daughter. And what is beautiful is when she is upset and she needs space, I would say most of the time, not all the time, but I definitely give her space, and it works. When I am frustrated, or when I am not in a space where I can give her right kind of quality time to her, or where I can be uh, all ears to her, she gives me space. So yeah, I mean, I think it comes from that place of mutual respect. When we want the respect, we have to give the respect and treat them equal when it comes to understanding each other. We just cannot expect ordering and then having a child who's just here like somebody like a puppet who's following just all the orders and has no say in whatever they are doing. So that's unfair, and yeah, that's not what we want our children to become as they grow up.
Yeah, so absolutely. You spoke about the mutual respect, and it's at the firm and the kind, and just looking at this whole modeling that we're doing. How are we developing this? What are some of these skills, and how are they going to help them in the long run, right? So imagining all the things that we're doing when they're adults, all the qualities that we want in them, like life skills, maybe resiliency, critical thinking, problem solving. It's all happening right now as they're toddlers. And they don't know how to communicate with us and say, Mom, I'm feeling this way. How can you? They just can't. They can't communicate all of the feelings. So perhaps having those emotions we talked about earlier, and we could even take pictures or show pictures, right? Or make faces and say, let's see what happens when we're angry. What kind of faces do we make when we're angry or when we're happy, and having those pictures, and they can identify, how are you feeling right now? Let's look at the picture. And when they can have that ability to do that, and autonomy, that space, that moment to self-construct or take in the moment.
Yeah. One thing that I do sometimes is when she was young, I used to take her in front of the mirror, and I'll ask her to see her expressions, her facial expressions, when she's upset or when she's happy. Most of the time, when she was either crying or upset about something, I would just take her in front of the mirror and ask her to watch herself, and then I'll ask her to say, "Smile and see how your face changes." And that really worked. So now it's the other way around. When I'm upset, or when I'm showing any kind of unwanted emotion in front of her, she takes me to the mirror and says, "Watch your face and just let me know how will it look if you were smiling." And I'm like, "Oh yeah," it's coming back to me.
Our little teachers. Oh, what a joyful time to have a toddler or any young child, though their challenges.
Yeah.
That's how they're learning. Wow. And they're teaching us, right?
Yeah. Now she's grown up. When she was young, yeah, that's what I used to do. And now when she's 11, she is doing that to me.
11.
Yeah.